Kids don't forget.
Kids don't forget.
You kids don't forget.
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 So, Sheron, what up, man? How you feeling?
I'm good, baby. I'm good, you know.
What is the correct pronunciation of your name?
Sheron.
What's the correct spelling?
Sheron.
Have you ever got your name mispronounced?
All the time.
What do you get?
Sharon.
You got Sharon?
Or Sheron.
Or Sharon.
Sharon or Sheron. If the person doesn't know, like if we communicate via email or something like that,
Right.
more often it's Sharon.
Okay.
In person, if they know I'm a guy, they gonna say Sheron for the most part.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do telemarketers pronounce your name?
Sharon. Sharon, I guess.
And it used to get misspelled a lot too.
All the time. Yeah,
Okay.
with an A.
So it's Sheron with one R, first of all.
Sheron, correct.
Okay. How does it get misspelled?
All type of stuff. Sheron, Sharon, Sherron, you know, a whole type of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're like, yo, it's Sheron with one R.
One R, very easy.
Did you have any nicknames growing up?
I mean, Mr. Wu, my parents used to call me, but not often. I never really had something that stuck. You know, like my brother got Buck, and you know, I never really had nothing that stuck.
Where did Mr. Wu come from?
I had a rabbit or something like that, and I
Okay.
named him Mr. Wu,
Okay.
if I'm not mistaken. And I guess everybody thought it was like a silly name or whatever, so
Right.
it just kind of stuck. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
But in the hood, like in school, like everybody just called you Sheron.
Ron, for the most part. Most people just call me Ron or Sheron. You know,
Okay.
so I get Ron more than anything.
No Ronnies?
Most people, it's, you know, chicks back in the day. You know.
Ronnie. You like that. You wasn't correcting them.
Yeah, nah. There's a lot of people to this day, they probably think my name is Ronald. A lot of people probably,
Really?
because so many people call me Ron. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So, just to keep it simple.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So where are you from?
I'm originally from Camden, you know, born
Camden, New Jersey.
Camden, New Jersey.
Okay.
Born in Cooper Hospital.
Right.
On a Sunday. I mean, after that, I went to Philly for the first couple years of my life.
What year? What year would you say you were born?
1980.
What'd you say? What year were you born, if you care to say it? Okay, 1980.
1980,
Okay.
yeah, for sure.
Do you claim a neighborhood?
I mean, Cramer Hill
Hill.
gotta be where I claim, because, you know, I lived in, I was born, my mom lived downtown 4th Street.
Okay.
Went from 4th Street to East Camden. I
Okay.
lived in McGuire Projects. My grandpa lived on Moore Street.
Okay.
You know, my grandma, I forget the name of the street, but you know the high rise that's right, it's in East Camden. I forget the name of it. It's an old, you know, the housing authority where all the old people live at.
Oh, McGuire. McGuire, there is the Westfield Acres in East Camden.
Nah. It's over by closer to Philly. I mean, closer to like.
Oh, Northgate.
Yeah. But not Northgate though. My dad is from Northgate. Actually.
Okay.
Yeah,
really?
yeah,
Your dad's from Northgate. Interesting.
Yeah. Well, all over. I mean, you know how I go in Camden. People, you don't really stay in one. Very few people stay in one spot the whole time you in Camden.
True.
So,
That's
like
true.
I said, I went from Benson Street. I went from 4th Street to Benson Street to Carmen Street, right next to Wilson.
So you went from downtown to East Camden.
To East Camden, then from East Camden over to Cramer Hill.
Right.
But you would catch me on Moore Street. You catch me all over the place. You know what I mean?
Right.
Out Parkside, I might even come to kick it with you. I was just the claim to do all over.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I can't. I mean, if I have to claim a place, I have to claim Cramer Hill because that's where I live. You know?
Right.
But I lived in Cramer Hill, went to Camden High.
So I just come out and say you were my best friend growing up.
Facts.
So people from Parkside used to be like, yo, where's Sheron from? I would say Cramer Hill, like he from Cramer Hill.
Basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. How would you describe Camden growing up, or your neighborhood, Camden? How would you describe it? For example, was it a wealthy neighborhood? Was it a safe neighborhood? Was it poor? Was it dangerous? Was it gangster? Was it okay? Would you raise your kids there? Like, how would you describe?
No. I wouldn't raise my kids there.
Right. Why not?
Personally.
Why not?
It's just so much that can happen. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Just so much that can happen anytime. But I wouldn't change growing up in Camden.
All right, so describe how was Camden for you? Like, what was the neighborhood like?
It was always like a low level threat of danger all the time, but it never affected my life. It's kind of like how I'm seeing the whole COVID situation right now. COVID to me is like living in a bad neighborhood.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because you gotta be skeptical. You know, you gotta be diligent, but you at the same time you outside. You know,
Right.
at the same time you outside. You like, I hope nothing. You know what I mean? I hope nothing happened.
Right.
And you just living your life, and before you know it, you look back, a year done went past.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Kind of like that.
Okay. Well, you mentioned your little brother, so you were not an only child.
Definitely not.
So if you are you the oldest or the youngest?
I'm
First
the
of all,
oldest.
you're the oldest.
Yeah.
What is the age gap between you and your youngest sibling?
All right, so my siblings that I grew up
Well,
with.
yeah,
my
the ones you
sibling-
grew up with. What's the age gap between you and your youngest sibling?
10 years.
10 years. All right, so I'm gonna do this. If you are 15 years old,
Mm-hmm.
list your siblings. You don't have to say their names, but how old are they? If you're 15,
One is, if I'm 15, one is 10.
okay, and is it a brother or sister?
It's my brother.
Okay, you got a 10-year-old brother.
10-year-old brother. I would have a 7 or 8-year-old sister,
Okay,
and then I would have an infant little brother.
okay.
Yeah.
So you being the oldest, how would you describe that growing up in that house?
I always been the same dude no matter what. I always just did my own thing. I was like the dude, I'd be like, yo, I'm out, and then I'm gone, and then I come back, and I'm like, I'm back. So, you know, it wasn't really a situation where it was like I always had to look out for my younger brothers or my younger sister. My brother Buck, he kind of held it down. He always been his own dude too.
Right.
You know, especially with the hand game and all that. He
Right.
always been kind of nice with that.
Okay.
So, you know, when I was home, though, it was just more fun. We just be cracking jokes on each other. Like, you know, when I was a kid, I was silly, man. So
Right.
it was just like nonstop, your mom jokes, even though we all had the same mom. It was nonstop Peter Bed jokes. You know what I'm saying? Just
Right.
you know, rustling. We was, you know, you got 3 boys in the crib, you know, all at the same time. It's pandemonium. And a sister.
The fact that you just said you could just be like, I'm out.
Yeah.
A lot of teenagers, period, can't say that because they are raising their little brothers and sisters.
Right.
So are we to assume that you grew up with a stable environment? Like, did you grow up with both parents?
My mom and my stepdad, for sure, was right there the whole time.
And that's crazy because you are the minority in the hood.
Facts.
All right, right?
Facts.
So I think I was just discussing it on another interview that I think these are the levels. So if the 5th level, and we're talking about percentages of kids that grow up in the hood, probably the least percentage is a kid who says, I live with just my dad.
Yeah.
You agree to that?
Yeah, I would
like
agree.
that's like the rarest thing. Like you live with only your dad.
I agree with that.
And number 2, right behind that, is kids who have both parents
The
the
whole
whole time.
time. The whole
Exactly.
time. Yeah. The
Like,
whole
because you hear a
time.
lot of people were
Yeah.
like, yeah, I lived with my mom and my dad till I was like 12
Yeah.
or until I was 11 or whatever age it was.
Right.
The whole time is super rare.
100%.
So how many guys did you grow up with? People, period.
Not a-
Like,
not
you
a
never
lot.
even saw their dad
Not-
before.
not a lot. Not
Right,
a lot.
exactly.
Not a lot.
So it's kids who live with just their dad.
Right.
We talking about the hood that we know, that we grew up in.
Right.
Kids who have both parents, that's number 2. That is rare.
Right.
And then, like, in the middle, that number 3 is like, let's say foster kids, right? The foster kids in the hood. I think it's more foster kids than kids who have both parents.
Which is sad.
Foster
Which is
kids.
sad. Which is
And
sad.
then
Yeah.
the 4th level is kids who live with somebody in their family, like particularly their grandma,
Yeah.
right? I live with my grandma or my aunt or my uncle,
Yeah.
or sometimes a cousin,
Yeah.
or in some cases their older sister or something like that,
Yeah.
but a family member that's not their parent.
Right.
And then probably the number 1 percentage, the biggest percentage is kids who live with just their mom.
Their mom.
So you are from
Yeah.
a small minority of kids who grew up with both parents.
Not only that, I had the whole shebang. I had both my parents. I had my grandmom on both sides, my grandpop on both sides. I had crazy aunts. You know,
Right.
I got one of them ridiculous big families. I had cousins all over the place.
Right.
So I just had family. You know, half of a good percentage of Camden is my cousin. You know what I'm saying?
Really?
So yeah, I just had a whole different scenario from a whole lot of people.
Okay.
For
Okay.
sure. Yeah.
What would you say was your relationship with your parents? With your mom and your stepdad?
It was good. I mean, it was good. I wasn't a bad kid. You know, I was silly. You know, but the only thing that for sure that everyone would say about me is I was out. You know what I'm saying? Like I get up. And whatever I wanted to do that day, if I wanted to come kick it with you on Parkside, I'll walk to Parkside. You know what I mean?
Right.
If I wanted to go to my grandma's house on Moore Street, I'll walk to Moore Street. But I wasn't the type of dude that was like in the house all the time. So
Okay.
it was cool when I would come home. You know, after I got a certain age, I would come home and I would just kind of do my thing, play, you know, Nintendo, Sega Genesis, whatever it is, do
Right.
homework.
Right.
So it was a good relationship. You know what I'm saying? But I did have like a structure in terms of, you know, my stepdad was a disciplinary type of guy.
Right.
My mom was like, you know, the school teacher,
Right.
like in spirit, not just
Right.
like by profession, but like in spirit. You know what I'm saying? So it was kind of like a little like a ghetto Huxtable type scenario.
Nah,
you know
and,
what I mean?
I can personally vouch for that.
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
in high school when I was going through what I was going through, I would be at your house at least once, twice a week.
Yeah.
And that once, twice a week, I felt like your family was my family.
Facts. And not only you, it was a lot. It was a couple people. I got, you know, a couple friends out there. You know, every night it was somebody at my crib, or if they wasn't staying the night or there for dinner, we would be on the porch playing Nintendo, Genesis, all the kids from the whole neighborhood, because we had all the video games and all this type of stuff.
And you was probably the only family in the hood that had both parents.
Facts. That's a Snapple fact right there. That's real rap.
Right.
But yeah, so it was a good upbringing. Like I wouldn't change nothing about it. And you know, one thing, you know,
And that's something that you and I have in common.
Yeah.
Because I grew up with both parents too.
There you go.
And you know that.
Yeah.
So it's like we were two minorities.
Right. And you know what? For real, like you asked me if I would raise my kids in Camden, and I wouldn't. But one thing I will say, growing up in Camden with both parents and going out into the world, you're way more equipped than an average
Exactly.
person. Way more equipped.
It's a whole different childhood.
It's a whole different scenario because, you know, I got a daughter that's in college right now. I got one that's going to college pretty soon, and,
Okay.
and it's scary because there's so much they don't know about the world. When we were, you know, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, we knew how to move.
Right.
You know,
Right.
it wasn't all good. We knew, we're not going to go down there because it ain't all
We
good.
was already
We gonna
super
go
street
over here.
smart by
We
then.
already knew about
Right.
it. Or, you know, we get into a situation, we know to diffuse the situation as opposed to escalate the situation.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Everybody don't have those skills. And it translated well for me. I've done really well. I attribute it to growing up in Camden.
I
Sure.
bet you, speaking of growing up in Camden,
Sure.
I bet you don't remember all the schools that you went to.
I do.
Okay. Let's go. Kindergarten,
I
go.
Kindergarten, I went to Cramer.
Cramer is where?
Cramer is in East Camden.
East Camden.
It's 2 blocks over from the
McGraw?
projects.
Oh, from the projects.
From
Okay.
the project, from Benson Street, where I lived at, 2 blocks away. You know,
Okay. So your walk to school was like 5 minutes.
5 minutes, and I walked by myself from the second day of school.
Right.
For the rest of my life, I walked to school every day by myself.
Your mom never came and picked you up.
I mean, you know, on occasion.
Sporadically, like she might be in the car, you're like, yes.
Yeah, the teacher called her, you know,
Right.
I was acting crazy, but yeah, for the most part, I walked to school every day.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you went to Cramer from K through what?
To 3rd grade.
K through 3rd. So what was your experience like in Cramer? If you remember.
Yeah, it was crazy. You gotta remember, this is 85.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So this is, you know, crack coming in. It's
Right.
getting a little crazy.
Right.
You know, this is when people's moms was first getting strung out on drugs, and the little kids are looking to the older brothers as parents.
Right.
And the older brothers not on the right path. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So kids getting left back. You know, you in the same grade, you thinking everybody 5. You got 7-year-olds beating up the 5-year-olds. It was
Right.
crazy.
Right.
And that's how I kind of learned, like, my social skills, you
Okay.
know, because when you get in a situation where you like, listen, if we get into a physical brawl, this ain't going to end well for me. You
Right,
know what I'm
right,
saying?
right,
So
right.
you kind of learn how to
Were there any groups or
Stay around
posses or teams that you had to deal with at Cramer?
the Fruit Posse.
The Fruit Posse.
The
So
Fruit
the Fruit
Posse.
Posse does exist.
The Fruit Posse
You from
absolutely
East Camden, well, and you know.
It used to be spray painted, like when you go through Utah,
Right.
and when you first go to Moore Street, it's a little like a a brick, like this brick place right here, and then there's a gate. It's someone's yard.
Right.
They used to say the Fruit Posse right there.
Now,
I remember
officially they were called the Fruit Posse. The kids, if you was in the neighborhood, we just called them Fruit. Like, here come Fruit.
They come to Fruit. That sounds
Here
crazy.
come Fruit.
Yeah, that's
here they
crazy.
come. How would
Yeah.
you describe Fruit? Like, how would you say they terrorized that? If in your opinion, do you
Yeah,
feel like
man.
they terrorized East Camden? At least their side of East Camden?
Well, see, here's the thing. This is where it kind of, well, like the parenting and the structure kind of comes into play, because I only knew my interactions with them, and that was most of the time at school and on the way home. You know what I'm saying?
After school, was
After
the worst
school,
time to be
yeah,
interacting
yeah,
with
yeah.
them.
But for the most part, I mean, again, I have family that lived on Moore Street. Most of the Fruit Posse, but they little
They
area
from
was
Moore
like
Street,
Moore Street.
right,
You know what I'm
right,
saying?
right,
So
right.
I have family on Moore Street. Not to say that, you know, it was any, you know, they was afraid of them, but I guess they had a certain amount of respect to where they just somewhat left me alone. Like, for the most part, like, I never really got beat up by nobody from the Fruit Posse or whatever, but it was always a threat of violence. Always, you know what I'm saying?
From when we were kids.
It was always a threat of violence.
We
for
were
sure.
little kids, and
Yeah.
from the gate of walking to school, kindergarten, first grade,
Crazy.
we had to deal with Fruit from the door.
From the gate.
People don't understand what it is to grow up in Camden.
They don't.
From the
They
door,
don't.
we had to deal with
They
Fruit
don't.
Posse, and it wasn't just
don't.
one family; it was like 20 of them.
It was a lot of them. Some of them actually lived in the projects with me on the first floor. The older cousin, I remember one time the older cousin came and beat one of the dudes that we was in class with up at the school, because I was telling them, like, yo, man, you know, your cousin, they crazy a little bit. He was
Right.
like, what? I'm gonna go over there, and he actually beat him up once. It was hilarious. But anyway, side note, you know what I mean? But yeah, the Fruit Posse, again, I had my cousins over there. They didn't really bother me too much, but it was always a certain level of threat of violence.
Right.
Where it was always like a certain level of thickness in the air, where you were just like, all right, all it's going to take is one false move, and it's lit out here.
Exactly.
Always.
Exactly.
Always.
So you did Cramer from K to 3.
Actually K through second grade. I
K
started
to
third
2.
grade.
Okay.
Yeah, I started third grade at Sharp.
At Sharp,
Cramer Hill.
where's Sharp?
It's in Cramer Hill.
Oh, Sharp is in Cramer Hill.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. So you.
I think it's 32nd Street, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. So third grade, you go to Sharp from what to what?
All the way through to so I went to middle school.
So from third to fifth.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you go to Sharp,
Yeah.
you're not dealing with Fruit Posse anymore. 'Cause
Nah.
they kind of their area is kind of like East Camden. Their side of the Moore Street side of East Camden, right?
Yeah.
So Sharp is in Cramer Hill.
Yeah, Cramer Hill had their own version. I mean, everywhere you went, it
All
was,
right.
it was
So
your own version.
who'd you have to deal with at Sharp?
So 33rd Street was like the drug set. Or
Okay.
whatever. But I had a lot of friends on 33rd Street. It was another one. I don't know if you remember the time it was a movie out, and they had a gang called Trey Deuce in the movie. It was a West Coast movie.
Really?
What was the name of that movie? I can't remember what the
Okay.
name of the movie is.
Okay.
But anyway, that was their name, Trey Deuce, or whatever.
For the 32nd Street.
32nd Street.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
so I had to deal with them, you know what I'm saying, for a little bit. But it was always little kid stuff, you know what I'm saying? And I learned a lesson from them. Like when I went from Cramer to Sharp, I learned a lesson about people that sticks with me to this day.
Okay.
Right? It was this one dude that he had like bully energy. He was like a friend of me. You know what I'm saying? He was like
Okay.
the first dude that I met when I went there.
Okay.
But he had bully tendencies, right?
Okay.
To where
Example. What's a bully tendency?
Just being like
Aggressive.
at first is everything's cool, you know, respecting body space or you know, just being all the way respectful in the beginning.
Okay.
But then moving closer and closer to disrespect. You know
Got
what I'm
it,
saying?
got it,
More
got it.
and more aggressive.
Like
a
stretching
little
the
bit.
rubber band,
Stretching it a little bit
got
to
it.
see how I'm going to respond.
Okay.
So and that was the lesson I learned, because another person came to Sharp. And I was warning him. I was like, yo, you gotta watch out for this dude right here. He like our friend, but he not really our friend. You know what I mean?
Right.
He a little bully. But what I noticed is he didn't treat the other dude like he treated me. He all the way respected the dude, because I guess he just saw something in him that made him say, I don't want no drama with this dude. I want drama with Sheron.
Okay.
So I learned from that to always be like, okay, it's not how you present yourself depicts how people treat you. You know what I'm saying? People want to treat you based on the way that you carry yourself. He saw something in this dude that said he don't want no smoke, but he saw something in me that said he do want smoke.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I always, whenever a situation after that, I end up beating the dude up. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The dude with the
Shot him
bullying.
a fair one?
I just shot him a fair one, and that was that. And I didn't have no issues with him no more.
Okay.
But I learned that you have to really present yourself in a certain manner, you know, to kind of command a certain level of respect. If not, then you'll, you know, always get that bully energy from people.
Wow, so you learned
And
that early on.
That
That carried
grade,
into your adulthood.
The first month of third grade, I learned that super early. You see what I'm saying?
Got it.
This is just another example when I'm telling you of like lessons growing up in Camden that other kids. I know some people didn't learn that till I was in the military.
Right.
And I'm putting them on to that at 19, 20, 21.
Okay.
I learned this in the third grade.
In the third grade.
You
when
see
you
what
was
I'm
8,
saying?
9, right.
Because I lived in Camden for the most part. You know
So
what I mean?
already, elementary school, you had to deal with fruit.
Yep.
You had to deal with Trey Deuce.
Yep.
Now you go to middle school.
Yeah, that was a whole.
Did you do middle school at one school?
All 6 through 8th, I did at one school.
All right, where was that?
Vets.
And where is Vets?
Which is on the border of Cramer Hill. I guess it's technically Cramer Hill, but it's Cramer Hill and East Camden.
Okay.
Almost, because it's right when you go over the bridge.
So
from
were the
Federal
people from
Street.
Fruit Posse who went to Vets?
Nah.
Okay, so this was all. So
this
it was
was
mostly Cramer Hill kids.
You got Cramer Hill. You got AV.
Right, Adler Village.
People walking up from AV.
Right.
And then you got some people coming from
And what is Adler Village?
projects.
Yeah, projects in
yeah.
East Camden / Cramer Hill, right?
It's like East Camden, but North Camden is right across the street.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
from
So,
AV, right.
So you'll get some of the North Camden people that don't want to go to the North Camden schools. They
Okay.
You know, so it's a mix.
So
you know what I mean?
so for the first time when you went to middle school, it wasn't just your hood.
Nah,
Now you got different hoods.
Yeah.
So you got Cramer Hill, a little bit of East Camden, a little bit of AV, a little bit of North Camden, all in one school.
All in one.
What was that like?
All right, so this is when well, I talk about it on a couple different levels. This is when, for me personally, this is when music started to become more of an influence in my life. Music has always been an influence from 5 years old, but around this time, you're talking about this is when Electric Relaxation and Tribe Called Quest, Punks Jump Up to Get Beat Down, Brand Nubian, a Scenario, when that was out. So I was more into, music. I was more into playing basketball, stuff like that. So, it was just more people to kind of interact with on that level. And for
you were an underground backpacker type of guy.
This
like
is
you
where it
didn't
came
like the
from.
mainstream hip hop really. Like you respected it, but you were more of that backpacker guy. So
100%.
even in the high school, you were more into like J. Rue, the Damager, the Boot Camp Click. Right.
Absolutely. So this is all that time frame. Redman, Onyx, Dr. Dre. This is when all that was coming out. So, I'm coming up,
So you're really into hip hop middle school.
I'm really into hip hop. I'm kind of like trying to figure out, me, figure out what I'm into. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So I've always been in my own, just almost in my own bubble, my whole life. People be telling me about stuff that happened that went on right around me, and I be like, I was there. Like I don't even remember, because I'm in my own zone. I've always been like that,
Okay.
And I'm just, I'm trying to figure out where the cracks and the crevices are, so I could just slide through there unscathed. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So it was just a heightened level of awareness. It definitely got a little more violent. A couple people got shot. You know what I mean?
In middle school.
In middle school, yeah, for sure. You know what I'm saying?
It's not funny.
It's not funny at all. Then you had the high school kids coming back to middle school because you
I forgot about that. Right. The ninth graders who, yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Excuse me. So you had all that coming, and you had people, the older dudes coming with their cars or whatever to try to get with the middle school chicks or whatever. So
we used to say that growing up, like dudes like you and I. We got the girls that were left over.
Facts.
Well, you didn't get in middle school.
Facts.
You didn't get the girl that you wanted in high school.
Not at all.
You barely got the girl that you wanted.
Yeah.
The girls we wanted were taken by the older guys, and where we from, the drug dealers or the dudes with the cars, or they were just older. Period. It's very rare that the baddest chick in school went with somebody her age. Very rare.
This is 100%. And looking back on it, a lot of it had to do with survival. You know what I'm saying? A lot of it, you know, where we come from, like you said, single mothers, their mom wasn't there because they was working 2-3 jobs.
Right.
If they was doing that, if they wasn't cracked out.
Right.
So I'm looking back on it, and it was interesting how it all played out. All we saw was exactly what you said. Where we was like, yo, I'm trying to get at this chick, and she trying to get at this dude, and he grown.
Right.
You know, I ain't got a chance over there.
Right.
So middle school, you know, girls for me wasn't really like a big thing. It was like I started to get interested in them or whatever, and they always got a certain amount of love, but it wasn't really like that. It was more so music, sports, and really just hanging out with my guys. You know what I'm saying?
Let's talk about
Hanging out with
sports.
my
So
homies.
you did sports. What did you do in middle school?
In middle school, it was more about basketball.
Okay.
Yeah, basketball and track.
And track. Okay.
Track was really the main thing. Basketball was kind of like my first love, but I never played organized basketball. Anything organized, it was track. You know,
Okay.
it's been track my whole life, to be honest with
Oh,
you.
so you were like an AAU kid. What was your specialty back in the day?
The 200, the 400, you know, the 400 hurdles.
Okay.
440 hurdles, whatever.
What's your favorite thing? If you look back and you had to run a race right now and you were in shape, what would you run?
200.
The 200. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's where you really get it in. The 100 is a little too short. The 200, you got the curve. You know, and you know, when we was kids, we was like a little smarter than the average dudes. You know, that's a race. Like the 2 and the 400 are both races where you can actually strategize. It's more than just speed.
Okay.
You know, the 100 is just speed.
Just speed.
And then 800 is like endurance. You know, it's like
Right.
other stuff in there.
Okay.
But the 200 and the 400, that's where you could really use strategy. Like, you know, if I knew
It didn't matter how tall you was or how fast you were.
it didn't, because I knew, like, you know, some people would save all their energy for the last 100, or they would save all their energy for the straightaway. But I knew if the wind was blowing a certain way, I could use centrifugal force. I'm working super hard on the curve, and then the wind just pushing me down the end stretch, and I'm like, boom, I'm applying, you know what I'm saying,
Right,
like strategy.
right.
So that's
Okay.
why I kind of like that, because it wasn't just about speed. You could overcome someone that's a little bit faster than you if you know, put some thought into it.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
On top of having both parents,
Yeah.
you had activities to do that kind of helped keep you out of trouble.
Facts.
Okay.
Facts. Yeah,
Okay.
always, man. And you know, again,
See, there's a whole circle that comes through. Oh, you only had one parent,
right,
but she was never home because she
Right.
worked 3 to 11,
right,
and you had nothing to do,
right.
and you didn't have any, like, say hypothetically, you might have had an older brother, but he wasn't really around like that.
Yeah.
So who do you look up to? The guys in the street. Oh, so now I'm selling drugs too. Now I'm getting in trouble because there's nothing else to do.
There's nothing else to
You
do.
had nobody to put you in anything. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, yeah, and it just kind of like you just kind of get in where you fit in. You know.
So
what I mean?
would you say, like, up until, so we only got to 8th grade so far,
yeah.
you stayed out of trouble. You from the hood, but you
Yeah.
relatively stayed out of trouble.
For the most part, and you know, just to be fair, going back to what you were saying on that, it's been times where I just been hanging out with my homies. You know what I'm saying? I'm hanging out with my homie. Everyone just hangs out at a certain spot. Like, I know if I'm going to go see this person, I'm going to go over here. In my head, I'm just hanging with my homies, but in real life, it's the set. It's the drug set. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And when the cops come, they just going, you know, grab whoever out there.
Right.
You know? So a lot of times, it might not even be that you actually doing something. It might just be, you know, you just there.
In the wrong place at the
Wrong
right
place
time.
at the right time.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you graduated from vets.
Yeah.
By the way, how were you doing in school, like academically?
Academically, I was like a BC student. It wasn't nothing real crazy, but what I would do, though, I would do really good on the end of the year test.
Oh, right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I was
Smash that.
Yeah, I was a BC student by choice, because for me, it was always a balance between schoolwork and social life. You know what I'm saying? And for me, I'm like, I put social skills over book smarts my whole life, even to this day.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So for me, it was like, if I could just get a B or a C, keep my mom and them at bay, I can get
Right.
out here, you know what
Right.
I'm saying, and do what I really want to do in social, you know, the
I would
social
do
tip.
just as
Yeah.
good as school to keep my parents off my back,
Yeah.
and I could just live and
Yeah.
do what I want.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Been doing that my whole life.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you get to high school. Where'd you go to high school?
So the first half of the first year, I went to Wilson,
Where's Wilson?
East Camden.
Now, for people watching this who don't know, back in the 90s, when you were in high school, there was only 2 main high schools in Camden.
that's
You
it.
either went to Woodrow Wilson,
Yeah.
which was in East Camden,
Yeah.
or you went to Camden High, which was in Parkside.
Facts.
Now, what people also don't know is it probably maybe like 10, 11 sections of Camden, where half of the city goes to one, and half of the city goes to the other.
Right.
So you went to your neighborhood school. Kids who, per the neighborhood, kids who went to Wilson were from East Camden, basically.
Facts.
East Camden, Cramer Hill.
North, some parts of North.
Some parts of North Camden, right, and that was it. And kids who went to Camden High were from Parkside, Pollock, Fairview, downtown.
Yep.
Anything we forgetting?
Nah, I think that's
That's pretty much.
that's
You're
pretty
right.
much it.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty much it. So so I went there, and just to paint the scene, this is the year I'm in class.
Centerville.
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 That's
People,
right.
that's Camden High.
That's
Got it.
But if you're in class and the windows is open and it's the spring, you hear flavor in your ear. This is that year. This is when Big first come on the scene. This is when Wu-Tang. This is the year Raekwon dropped 4 Cuban Links the summer before.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So music is always kind of paints a picture in terms of it captures time for me. So whenever I think of something, when I have to remember something,
You know what album was
I go
out.
back to the music.
Right, okay,
Brings
okay.
me back into what was going on. So it was around that time.
Right.
I went there just because it was a neighborhood school, but because I ran track, my mom wanted me to run track, and Coach Booker was my one of the guys that was around. Like, he kind of saw me. Coach Tab was at Wilson,
Okay.
or whatever. So Coach Booker was like, "Yo, come run with us." And Camden High,
he was around AAU, so he saw you run in middle school.
Yeah. I
Okay.
pretty much was recruited to go to Camden High.
Really?
For track. That's why I was there for sure.
Wow, exactly, and there was a lot of that going on. There's a lot of that going on in the inner city where some kid who goes to X high school is really supposed to be going to Y high school.
Exactly.
You're like, yo, how you from Cramer Hill and you go to Camden High?
Yeah.
How you from Centerville and you go to Wilson? How?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in the inner city, period.
Facts.
Okay.
It was the best thing that happened though.
So what, Coach Booker talk to your mom? Or you?
Well, my mom was a track coach already. So they
and your mom was a track coach.
My mom
wow.
was a track coach, for Camden High, Speed City.
Which means she was a teacher.
She was a teacher as well.
Your mom taught at Camden High?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
When you were there?
No.
Okay.
No.
Luckily for you.
No, yeah. No, my mom been a teacher since like 1984 or something like
So
that.
you had both parents in the home,
Yeah.
and your mom was a teacher.
My mom was a teacher.
Wow. And a track coach.
And a track coach. Yeah,
Wow.
facts.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's the formula.
So how would you describe your overall high school experience?
Fun. I have fun.
Wait. So you went to Wilson
Yeah.
for just the first half of 9th grade, and then
Yeah.
you went to Camden High the second half of 9th grade, and you finished high school at Camden High? No.
I finished high school at Glassboro High my last year. So, you got to remember back in from 94 to 97, Camden was buck wild. Camden was crazy. Dudes was getting I remember this one dude killed somebody because he went into the Chinese store order. They both ordered the same thing, but the second dude took the first dude's order because he thought it was his. He came out and banged him.
Really?
Dudes was getting banged out, real crazy and came for stupid stuff like that. And the people that I was around, when you in Canada, even if, I had good parents and I was, doing my own thing. I wasn't involved in anything illegal, but everyone around me for the most part was doing illegal stuff. It was hard to avoid illegal people. So some of the dudes that I was around are doing multiple are doing life right now.
Right.
Multiple dudes. It's not even just one or two.
How would you say you stayed out of it, or would you say you contributed to your parents? Would you contribute it to you, or both?
Man, a little bit of everything. A little bit of luck, parents, common sense, street smarts.
Right.
Jumping off the porch early because I did have two parents that worked. So it wasn't like I was baby. You know what I mean?
Right.
So jumping on, like I said, that's why I made a point to say I walked to school from kindergarten, the second day of kindergarten on, because I became more independent, more street smart, and I started to see, okay, you make associations as a kid. It might not be conscious, but you might see so-and-so doing this, so-and-so in jail, so-and-so doing that, so-and-so dead. And it might have an impact where, you making these subconscious decisions without even really thinking about it to say, all right, this is when I slide off.
Right.
I'm around here right now. It's look all good, but I'm
Right.
gonna slide off. You know what I mean? That type time.
So you said after 11th grade you went to Glassboro. How did that happen? Did you run away?
Nah.
Did you?
Nah,
What
nah.
happened?
I mean, you know how I go. Glassboro, it's still, what's that, Gloucester County, but it's right.
No. I'm saying, how'd you get to Glassboro?
So when you grow up in Camden, if it costs 50 cents to live in Camden, and you get 51 cents, you move somewhere else. I mean, at that time. So, my parents was right on that same type time where they were just like, look, it's getting crazy out here. We make just enough to do something somewhere else. Let's go ahead.
Oh, so your family moved. You moved from Camden to Glassboro.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sure.
And did your senior year at where?
Glassboro, huh?
Glassboro High School. Okay.
Yeah.
How far is Glassboro from Camden? You're driving.
15 minutes.
15 minutes? Okay.
15 minutes.
Same world or different world?
Completely different world.
Completely different world.
It's funny, though, because...
Describe Glassboro. Describe your 12th grade year.
Here's the thing. Most of my friends was from Camden. Everybody had the same plan. Like, if you make a couple dollars, you know, you can get out.
It's basically families that moved out of the hood. That, quote, made it out the hood.
Right. And made their own hood, because Glassboro had his own little hood. You know, they even had their own little projects or whatever, So, but it was nowhere near as violent as Camden was.
Okay.
Nowhere near. Near.
So you didn't have that same, like, when you said, even though you was cool with Fruit, or some people in Fruit, and you was cool with some people at Trade Dues, it was always that threat that something could pop off at any second.
It wasn't really.
You didn't
like
experience that in Glassboro.
Well, it could go down anywhere. You know what I mean? You can get shot in Bel Air. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, X-Pop Smoke. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it wasn't as it wasn't as thick. Camden. If I could make an association or like an analogy, it's kind of like when you walk into a room after somebody just had a real heated argument.
Right.
You could feel it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That was Camden 100% of the time.
Okay.
That was Camden. Where here it was like you just walked in a room and it was just your homies was in there. Where it was just like that level of peace.
Got it.
Granted, it still can go left, but it just wasn't it wasn't that thickness in the air. Like
now I remember you telling me years ago when we were still kids. You're like, Glassboro, that 12th grade year was the best year of your life. Still facts? Up until that point. Up until that point. Here's the thing. Because all right, so you touched on it earlier. Remember you were saying, back in the day, the drug dealers would come through with the cars and all this, that, and the third. Right.
Once you moved out to the suburbs and and it wasn't really like a survival thing. Kids can be kids.
Right.
So now it's more about personality.
Okay.
Now it's more about if you like a halfway decent looking dude. It ain't really about like, hey, listen, you ain't gonna eat tonight. Come kick it with me. I got 4 chicken wings and rice over here. Come holler at me. It's not that no more.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's a whole different energy over there. So when I got over there, it was just more so people just living regular life. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I had a job. Most of my friends had jobs. We had money. People had cars.
You had a job. You remember your first job in high school?
My first job in high school was when I was in Camden. Actually, I got that freshman year. I was at McDonald's in Cherry Hill Mall. Upstairs.
Okay. How long were you there?
Until I moved to Glassboro.
So you was at McDonald's for like 3 years. So this would have been from like 95 to 97. 95, 96, and 97.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, it was. I guess so. Yeah, looking back on it, it didn't seem that long, but yeah.
So Glassboro came in 2 different environments. And
it was just a different environment.
So you graduate from Glassboro High School. Let me ask you this question.
What's up?
On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the worst ever and 10 being the best possible, how would you rate your childhood?
10.
10
across the board.
What does a 10 childhood look like and why?
A 10 childhood prepares you for life.
Okay.
Prepares you, after I graduated from high school, I wasn't the what do they call that? Failure to launch kid.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I wasn't scared of the world.
Okay.
I wasn't scared to go out. You know what I'm saying? I went out into the world, and not only did I just go out, because I graduated June 19th. I went into the military July 7th.
Wow.
Yeah. 3 weeks, I was about it. I ain't been back yet.
What branch did you pick?
Air Force.
Air Force.
Okay. So I turned 19 in Italy. You know what I mean?
Really?
I turned 20.
So you saw the world.
The whole world, yeah. I've been all over. And not only did I actually did pretty well. Again, based off of the stuff, people would always be like, yo, you from Camden? Like, how are you from Camden?
So let's talk about that. What's your overall perception of how your childhood affected your life?
It really just when it comes to common sense, when it comes to things like the ability to when it comes to emotional intelligence, when it comes to handling different situations in certain ways,
Okay.
I still handle it the same way I've been handling since I was 10, 11, 12, 13 years old.
Okay.
Just a little more savvy, a little more mature with it, but the same basic principles are there. It all come from growing up in Camden, for sure.
Do you have a worst day, a worst childhood day that you like to forever forget if you could, like just eliminate it from happening?
It would have to do with like the death of a family member or something like that. Like when my grandma died, that was tough. That was hard. And that was when I was like 14.
Okay.
Freshman year.
Okay.
But my grandma had my mom when she was real old. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? She had my mom when she was like 50.
Okay.
Or close to 50, something
Okay.
like that. So, she was out here when I was like 14. That kind of hit kind of hard because remember when I was in East Camden, I would just either go to one grandma's house, go to the other grandma's house. It was
Right.
like a whole network or whatever. So that was like the first thing there.
Okay.
But overall, man, I can't really say I had a real bad experience. You know what I'm saying? Other than that.
So let's flip it. Do you have a favorite childhood day that if you could, you would like to go back to?
Yeah. I mean, I got a lot, but I'll go for one from real early on. Like my first real early memory when I was a kid. I want to say this is Christmas '86 or '87.
Okay.
I can't remember whichever one. I was 6 or 7 years old.
Right.
But I remember again, I've always been a hip hop head. This is like when it really started. I'm still really, pretty much a hip hop head to this day.
Okay.
Okay. So that Christmas I ended up getting a Adidas sweatsuit. It was black and white. I got a Run DMC sweatshirt, and I got a boombox, and I got a Beastie Boys and a Bismarcky.
Okay.
So I was official b-boy when
Right.
I was an official b-boy at that time.
Right.
That's like one of my just one of many, but
Right.
that was a real good memory.
Now you had also mentioned that. Well, let me ask you this: is there anything that happened in your childhood that you feel like affected your life forever, either negatively or positively? I remember you telling a story about how you and your cousin were on Utah.
Oh, I do, yeah.
Utah Street.
Facts. Oh, yeah. So again, I jumped off the porch real early, just out. So when I would get out of school at Cramer, this is like at the same time, 6, 7 years old, I would walk through 1, 2, 3 drug sets to get to my grandma's house.
Right.
Utah happened to be one, and it happened to be like the more dangerous one and the most direct one where I would just come right into contact with these people.
Okay.
So me and my cousin, I bumped into my cousin, and he had it was like random because he don't really be over there like that. So I'm like, what are you doing here? Anyway, long story short, we start walking, we go through the Ave.
Right.
And it's a bunch of middle school kids there, or kids that were just older than us. And this is the height of the crack era.
Right.
So back in the day, you remember when they used to take your hat off and throw it and all this kind of stuff?
Pass it to the next guy. You too short to grab it, and they throw it to the next dude.
Yes, they did that, and my cousin wasn't having it. So I took my hat off. He didn't. He kept it on, and he's younger than me, too. He was about 5.
Right.
They took his hat. He went up to the boy that took his hat. And he didn't jump to get it. He stole him. Boom. Stole on him. Bang.
Okay,
Got it.
okay.
Just like that. So I was like, oh, Lord. So then we just started rocking with these kids or whatever, right?
Right.
Now, the whole thing might have been about 15 seconds, right? But as a little kid, it seemed like it was a 30-minute, 12-round fight, you know what I'm saying, for us, because we was rocking with big kids.
Right.
Long story short, one of the older dudes came over. He said he made the other kids leave us alone. He got the hat. Gave us our hat back, took some money out, gave us some money, and he looked at the dudes. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he said something to the effect of, they held it down more than y'all,
right?
And they little kids or whatever,
right?
So I remember walking back. When I was a kid, I used to have bloody nose all the time. I was walking back, and my nose was bleeding.
Right.
Walking past the fence with the big dog, that jumping all crazy high.
Okay.
Next thing, and in my head, I was thinking to myself, like, man, it kind of taught me something about about life, because even though we lost, we won, because we won the respect of the people there. You know, we won the respect of all the kids there. We won the respect of the OGs. I never had a problem going through there ever again.
Nice.
So that was a situation that definitely affected me in a positive way.
So the man that you became, all these experiences, like who are you today, and how would you say your overall childhood made you this person?
Who am I today?
So first of all, what do you do?
Oh man, so I do work in the legal career field. So it's kind of hard to say one thing that I do, because I kind of do a little bit of everything.
You do
so,
real estate.
I do some real estate as well, but again, even that comes from the legal aspect of it, because I'm real good with contracts. But
Okay.
so I'm a contract manager for an energy company. That's my full-time job.
Okay.
I'm a paralegal in the Air Force still,
Okay.
and I have my own court reporting business.
Right.
So I do all of that. All of that came from, I mean, if I guess I would just say I'm just like a legal hustler. You know what I mean?
Right.
Who am I today? I'm a legal hustler, you know, father, you know.
How many beautiful kids do you have?
I got 3 daughters.
3 daughters.
Yeah,
Wow.
3 daughters.
Wow.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. What are their age ranges?
One's going to be 21 this year. One's 16. The other one is 13.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What would you say are some similarities and differences between your parenting style and your parents?
I'm definitely like a lot more hands off. Me personally, I kind of play like the what I consider to be like the traditional man role,
Okay.
where I let the wife take the primary role as the caregiver and all that.
Okay.
And me myself, I'm just the earner. That's all. You know. So I make sure that they have everything that they need and all that type of stuff.
All right. And in conclusion, I want you to give some advice to blank-year-old Sheron. If you could pick any age, what advice would you give that young man, and what would you say to him?
When I was 22-year-old Ron, I would say re-enlist on active duty and retire at 38, because I'm 40 right now. I would have been retired 2 years ago. So there you go.
All right. Thank you, Sheron. We appreciate having you.
All right, man. Peace.